Hello everybody, welcome back into the Color Gemstone Academy. I am your instructor, Paul DC, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul DC Gemstones. Well, at the time of this particular taping, we have surpassed 1,400 subscribers. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you who have participated, and if you have not done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Remember, it's absolutely free, but the more of you that sign up, the more I can do these videos for you. So I really do appreciate this. Well, it is Wednesday, and that means only one thing. It is time for our Q&A series, and I think this is, I forget, episode 13 or 14. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, we're going to kind of pick up where we left off last week. So every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, I release a Q&A series. Questions that you've come up with. Sometimes they're just comments saying, hey, I enjoy the videos, whatever. I appreciate all of them. And then I'm going to get to as many of them as I can, but I don't want it to be too long. So I actually had to cut last week's a little bit short. So we're going to pick up where that left off because we had a lot of questions or a long-winded answer about a lot of different opals around the world. Oh, another change for this week. I'm using my computer instead of paper to read your questions. So this one comes from Goldslinger. I love the names you guys come up with. And this is from when he was watching episode 15, Ethiopian Opals. And he says, the fact that the Ethiopian opal arrives much more expensive Cooper Pedy or Lightning Ridge without the worry of cracking or crazing is reason enough. Way undervalued stone. Well, Goldslinger, I couldn't agree with you enough. I've been talking about this for many, many years, what a great value the Ethiopian opals from the Welo mines have been in comparison to the price of the Australian counterparts. However, in the past, in the earlier iterations of the Ethiopian opals, when they were coming from a different source within Ethiopia, they really did have a history that there would be some cracking or crazing, as they call it, in the opal trade. But not since when they made the big discoveries in Wegeltena, where the Welo mines, that they called them Welo mines, are located. That really hasn't been much of a problem. Now, while all that being said, there's a couple of tips that I love to give people about any opal, whether you're talking about opals from Australia or Ethiopia or Peru or Mexico, Brazil. All opals have a certain amount of water content in them. And because of that, you should be careful about transporting them on a plane. And now why do I say that? Because if you're going to put your opals in a checked bag that goes underneath the plane, that's bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, when your bag goes through security and they're taking a look at what's in your bag and somebody likes opals, they might take advantage of that five-finger discount and take it for themselves. But a more important reason for that is, number one, you're separated from your opals. They're in the bag. What if the bags get lost? And your opals are probably pretty important to you. The other thing is that when it is underneath and it's not in a pressurized cabin, it can be, with the heights that the commercial flights are flying, it can get freezing temperatures. If you've ever picked up your bag, if they're ever quick with your bags, when you get off a plane and you see, wow, it's really cold because it was under the plane. And if it reaches those freezing temperatures and you have water inside of that opal, and as I said, what did I say in that lesson about opals? It is a hydrated, amorphous gem of hydrated silica. So all that water can then freeze. When that happens, the water expands and your opals could crack that way. So I always say take those opals with you when you are on the plane on your carry-on in a climate-controlled cabin. That's really just good advice. Now, the other thing that I've always said about the opals, again, because of that hydrated silica, because it is water, there's water anywhere between 5 and 14% water in most opals in the world. I also say opals love to be worn. They love humidity. So that's what you should do. You should wear your opals. You should enjoy them. What I caution against is taking your opals and putting them in a safety deposit box in a bank or somewhere else where there is like a humidity-free zone. You don't want that, because over time that could cause those opals to actually dry out. Those are two really simple tricks. Other than that, yes, I agree with you, Goldslinger. It is an incredible value for the play of color that you get with the Ethiopian opals. All right, moving on to question number 2. Actually, it's probably more of a comment than a question. And it's from Michelle Marie, and she was watching episode 44, Ametrine, when she made this comment. She says, I have a few ametrines in my loose gemstone collection. They are so amazing. I also have some watermelon tourmalines. Great video, thank you. Well, of course, you're quite welcome, Michelle. I happen to share your love of that ametrine. I think it's another one of those really undervalued stones for what you're getting for the money. Now, of course, there are some treatments in the ametrine, even though it can occur naturally. But still, with that kind of look of both the citrine and the amethyst in one stone, it is really an affordable luxury. So I'm glad that you're enjoying the lessons, and we appreciate the comment. All right, this next comment comes from Prismatic Kettlebells. Again, I'd love to know what that means, but anyway. Way back from episode 2, one of the earliest episodes, which was, what does it take to be a good gemologist? And back then, I was writing on an easel, and my handwriting was really, really terrible, and I think I commented on that. And so Prismatic Kettlebell says, I wouldn't worry about your handwriting. My high school history teacher knocks you out of the park there. I guess that was some bad writing. Well, thank you for coming to my defense of myself. But I really do have seriously horrible handwriting. I know I probably should have been a doctor. You know how they write those prescriptions and you can't read it. But truly, I have actually made notes, like whether I was in college in a class, I've made notes, and then I go back and try and read them, and I can't read my own writing. Now that's bad. But thanks for the content, nonetheless, Prismatic Kettlebells. All right, I kind of like the fast pace we're going today with the Q&As today. Next one comes from Violet V, and this is from watching the most recent gem episode, episode 57, Fluorite. And she says, thank you, Paul. I have a Blue John pendant from Derbyshire, but did not appreciate the connection with fluorite until watching this week's lesson. Would you be able to include Aqua Aura sometime in the future, please? As in, is it a real gem or is it man-made? Thank you so much. Really look forward to watching each week from here in the United Kingdom. Okay, great, great, great question. And I'm glad that you enjoyed the lessons and learning something about fluorite. As for the Aqua Aura, it is a genuine gem, but I do have a caveat to go with that. So it is a genuine gem. It is quartz. I know that it looks a little bit like aquamarine, which is why people call it Aqua Aura. And I know that in the metaphysical, a lot of people talk about some of the great properties that it has. But it is quartz, and it's not man-made. It's not a laboratory-grown gemstone. It's genuine quartz, but it undergoes a man-made treatment. So they take that quartz and they expose it to irradiation in the presence of gold, and that's where that color comes from. And it really does look like a beautiful and a very expensive aquamarine, but you are getting genuine quartz. Now, I have not done a lesson on that as of yet. I could do it in the future, but I wanted you to understand what process was done to create that color. Is it a genuine gem? Yes. Has it received a treatment to alter its color? Absolutely. And I put it kind of in the same league if you've ever seen any of the druzy that I've done in the past. Druzy is a naturally occurring phenomenon where tiny crystals form on top of another gem like agate. But then that undergoes a similar treatment called chemical vapor deposition, where they're using different elements. They heat them to a very high temperature. It becomes a vapor and it gets deposited on the stones. So some of those colors of druzy are not natural. And the same is really true of mystic topaz, where they take topaz and use that chemical vapor deposition. In the case of the Aqua Aura, it happens to be irradiation. Great question, though. Alrighty, so our next question comes from Penny Montana. Wonder if she's any relation to Hannah Montana. Oh wait, that was a fictitious character. Wasn't that Miley Cyrus? I don't know. She was watching episode 57, Fluorite, and she says, brilliant class on fluorite, Paul. Thank you so much once again for helping us, all learn about one of my personal favorite stones. It is truly so colorful. Thank you for always bringing such an entertaining and clear, easy to learn and absorb knowledge of my favorite topics, stones. Have a terrific rest of your weekend. Thank you, Penny. I did have a fabulous weekend, although it was a little rainy on Sunday. Obviously, I do enjoy the subject matter of gems as well, and I love simplifying it for everybody, because I know it can be intimidating when people go to either a jewelry store or maybe they're taking a gem class, and there's so much to learn. And I can promise you that I'm constantly learning myself. Every time I go to a new gem location, a mine, I'm always learning something different that I didn't know before. And I don't know how many, it doesn't matter how many years or hours I have with the Gemological Institute of America. I learn something new at the mines every single time, and I love to share that with you. I also wanted to say on a personal note, I suspect you are also, like the last question, from the United Kingdom or one of its territories. And there's a couple of, I spent 6 weeks in QVC in London back in the early 2000s. And I learned a lot of what about the language. So there's a couple, I'm going to go back to the words. So the words that tipped me off, brilliant. I love that about the British. They would say, that's brilliant, that's brilliant. I never felt smarter than when I was in England. Brilliant. Also, the way you spell favorite is different than the way that we do here in America. The way you spell color is different than the way we spell color here in America. So we are the heathens, you know, the penal colony that left England to settle life in America, 250 years ago. So we brought the language with us, but we sort of didn't bring the spelling with us. So I'm sure that, sorry about that. I actually joke about that in my book about how they use gemology, spelled with 2 M's, we do it with 1. There's a lot of differences in the language. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm babbling, but I enjoyed your question, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the lessons. Okay, by a sort of calculation in my head after being on camera for so many years, I think that we're somewhere around 13 or 14 minutes at this point. So I'm going to make this the last question for this week. And of course, I'll pick up more of your questions next week at the same time. So this last question will be from Lauro S. Mendez, also watching from episode 57, the fluorite episode, which is one of the more popular ones lately. Do we have a video about tourmaline? Do we have a video about tourmaline? Well, I don't know about you. Laura, if you have a video about tourmaline, I don't know anything about it. But no, we here at the channel do not have one as of yet. But I will be doing one in the future. And by the way, it was a really appropriate time to ask that question, because I noticed you were watching the episode on fluorite, which is one of the most colorful minerals in the world. And then when we talk about the gemstone tourmaline, it also comes in such a wide variety of colors. I mean, I forget the astronomical amount of shades that tourmaline can come in. So yes, we will do one of those in the future, obviously a little bit more durable and also a little bit more expensive than the fluorite. But I will get on that in the future. Well, as I said, that's going to wrap it up for this particular week's lesson on questions and answers. If you have not yet subscribed, please do me a favor. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really does help me out. Just hit that subscribe button. You can like it and you can share it if you want. And remember that every single Wednesday at 5 p.m., it's the question and answer series. And every single Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States, it is time for a lesson on a new or different gemstone. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.